So, hey, good morning, everybody. At least it's morning right now. I don't know what it is where you are. But anyway, it's been a little while since I've offered any kind of unsolicited opinions on anything that's happening right now because it's just constant. It's a constant shit show. And it's really hard to keep up with, and it's dangerous for your mental health to do so. But I wanted to share this with you. I was thinking about what's going on, and there's an old mini series that was done on Stephen King's The Stand. And the reason I bring that up is it's a particular part of it. And it's the closing scenes, the ending scenes of this. And for those of you who don't know the plot of The Stand, it's a very kind of Christian-based, end-of-the-world apocalypse kind of story where a horrible plague is let loose from a government agency that pretty much destroys the bulk of the population. And a guy by the name of Randall Flagg comes up and takes control of half of the population, Randall Flagg being a depiction of the devil, and the other half is taken over by a lovely old black lady, Mother, God, I forget her name, of course, because why wouldn't I? Anyway, you get the picture. And so Randall Flagg has all of the earmarks of the totalitarian government, right? He doesn't allow people to speak their mind, speak their opinion. They are horribly unalived. They're crucified. Just all sorts of horrors going on. And at the very end, we have two of our heroes who are captured, and they're about to be unalived by being basically drawn and quartered, which is a horrific death. If you don't know what that is, look it up. It's pretty messed up. Anyway, finally some guy comes out and he says, "This isn't America. This isn't what we grew up on." And how he makes his stand finally, right? And of course, for speaking out, Randall Flagg crooks a finger, and guess who dies horribly, choking, and all of this business, right? And I can't help but equate that to what's happening right now. Our dear leader is absolutely out of his mind with dementia. And not that I'm a healthcare professional, but I have some experience in dealing with it myself because of my parents. They're older, or my dad is older. My mom has now passed away. But definitely there's signs and symptoms if you want to be honest with yourself and take a look at it. And also, part of the signs and symptoms of this totalitarian government is if you disagree with dear leader, you're going to go to prison. And this is part of, I'm sure, why Doge stole all of our Social Security numbers. You'd have to be a fool to think that they don't have some sort of plan for all of that. By the way, if you haven't, you might want to file your Freedom of Information Act and ask why and what was done with your Social Security numbers. Of course, I did last year when it happened, and shockingly, I haven't heard anything. But they should be deluged with this anyway. The thing that gets me, I think, about what's happening is that there are now a bunch of people with buyer's remorse. I voted for you 3 times, and now you're doing X, Y, and Z, and it hurts me. And I gotta kind of laugh and chuckle about that because, well, you don't have an excuse. You knew what you were voting for. You knew exactly what you were voting for. You weren't voting for lower grocery prices. You weren't voting for lower gas prices. You didn't care about any of that. You were voting to hurt other people. And you knew that was going to happen. Absolutely. You knew that. You can't get upset, in my opinion, and this is totally an opinion, but you can't get upset about Trump posting himself as Jesus and claiming it's blasphemy and clutch your pearls about it. You can't do that because you don't care about the blasphemy. You don't, I mean, he's been blasphemous from literally day one. This is a man who cheated on his first wife with his second wife, cheated on his second wife with his third wife, cheated on his third wife with no less than 2 other women, one of whom was a porn star, which is how we got one of the numerous court cases against Donald Trump, which was the cover-up, the payoff to Stormy Daniels to have her keep her mouth shut about the fact that he had that affair, and he didn't want it to come out when he was running for president. That's what that whole case was all about. And people who say, well, Jack Smith did this as revenge, and he didn't do it as revenge. Donald Trump broke the law. Now, you weren't offended by any of that. You weren't offended by the fact that recently we have discovered that there was a 3-year-old who was sexually assaulted by some member of ICE while in custody. That doesn't offend you. If you voted for this guy, that's what you voted for. See, this isn't the grocery store. When you voted for him, you voted for everything that's happening right now. You're voting for the Blue Butterfly Wing, which is, in case you haven't heard of it, the wing in one of the ICE detention facilities where the teenage and young girls are separated from their families and taken to this wing, and now they're showing up pregnant. And they weren't to start with. You voted for that. You voted for Social Security to be cut back, and now it's going to affect you, your parents, and your grandparents. You voted for that. You voted for the 1% to get even more tax breaks. I talked with somebody the other day I said, it's obscene. It's an obscenity for there to be billionaires in this society. Well, what do you want them to have all their money that they earn taken away from them and given to everyone else? No, but the fact that, well, actually, yeah, I do at this point. I'm not going to lie. But the fact that there is the hoarding of basic resources and that ordinary people cannot find housing that is affordable because wealthy people came up with the idea that, hey, if we buy up a bunch of houses and leave them empty, we can drive up prices. And they give not one shit at all that there are people out there that can't find affordable housing. You voted for that. When all of this business with ICE started, our delightful person, Kristi Noem, decided that what she was going to do was start sending ICE to farms and fields where immigrants were picking our crops. It was so egregious and so horrific that many others who were not caught up in the ICE net stopped showing up to work. What happened after that? The crops were not getting picked. Have we replaced those workers yet? Think about that for a quick minute, and then pair that with the fact that right now is planting season. It's actually getting late for planting. And we're not getting fertilizer because Donald Trump, in his infinite idiocy, decided that he was going to tear up the agreement that Barack Obama, President Obama, made with Iran just because Barack Obama did it. He didn't look at anything. It's just, he's a racist. He's hated Obama for forever. And everything that he did, he came into office to spitefully tear down with absolutely no regard for why it was there. No regard, no concern, no care, no thought that there might be a reason. And this is how we ended up getting blindsided by COVID-19, because Barack Obama had set up an early detection system for this kind of thing, for a plague coming. And the second that Trump got in office, he negated that. So when I tell you that you voted for this and you don't get to say, well, I didn't vote for this, yes, you did. Because you hated Barack Obama too, because he was black. You thought he was Muslim, so you think it's okay. You think, well, this is a Christian nation. Well, it's not. You think that it's okay for everybody else to suffer except for you. And now guess what? You're suffering. This is what you voted for. You don't get to clutch your pearls because the crazy man put an image of himself up as Jesus himself. You weren't offended when he said, I grab him by the pussy. You weren't upset by any of that because you just said, oh, well, that's just fake news. It's on camera. It's a recording. He did that. You don't believe it. You don't believe that he is part of the Epstein files, even though he's breaking the law by not allowing the next 3 million files to be released. I'm betting that the bulk of you who support this never have bothered to go into the Epstein files and see what's there. And it's not just about Donald Trump. It's about every single client that Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell had. Every single one of those people should be in prison. You think Melania Trump went up there to be like, oh, I didn't have any... Please. You know why she wants people to be up there, the victims to be up there? Remember what they did to Anita Hill when she came forward and said Clarence Thomas was inappropriate with me? He assaulted me. Do you remember what they did to her? They did to her what they do to 99% of women who report being sexually assaulted or raped. They humiliated her. They made her life hell. They made her relive her assault. And all of these women, they're going to be put up on that stand in a congressional hearing, and the Republicans are going to come at them as if they're the criminals. You voted for that. That's what you voted for. And you don't care, as long as he keeps hurting people that you don't like. I have people that I know who voted for this asshole 3 separate times, and I will simply never forgive them. Period. I won't. Right now, we're in a position where Project 2025 is, has gained a lot of strength because nobody stopped it. The new one is that is directly aimed at women and taking away women's rights. And I mentioned this to somebody the other day, that they're going to try and take away women's right to vote. Oh, that'll never happen. That'll never happen, huh? Here it is. That's what we've said this entire time. since 2016. Oh, he won't be able to do that. Oh, he won't be able to do that. Oh, well, I know he did that, but he wouldn't be able to do that. Surely someone will stop him. No, they'll do that. They want girls to get married right out of high school and start popping out babies. Don't get an education. You don't need an education. You should just be home making more babies than you can afford to have. Because why? We want white people making a bunch of babies. It doesn't matter to you that like all of the people in the country who are not lily white like you are suffering and will suffer more. Will be arrested, will be beaten, will be unalived. Because that's the goal of white Christian nationalists, and that's what you voted for. It doesn't matter that these girls will not have an education, and when their husband decides to dump them for some other pretty piece of tail, that these girls will be stuck with the children because he's probably not going to have custody. He's just going to walk away from the whole damn family, because that happens all the time. And you know what? Those girls are not going to be able to support themselves because they will have no means of support. This group of chuckle fucks want women back under their thumbs because they are so enraged that we are as smart as we are, and when the world stops being made exclusively for the benefit of men, and in this country, specifically white men, we soar. Women soar. We run businesses. We're CEOs. We're scientists. We're researchers. We put, back in the 60s, women helped to put man on the moon. Now, with Artemis, we had the largest crowd of women in mission control that we've had in the history of our country. And this really makes these misogynist assholes cringe and want to repress us even more. And all you women who are out there, who are conservative women who voted for this, you're voting for your own oppression. You're voting for your vote to be taken away and for your rights to be taken away. And the only reason you are able to do that is because another woman somewhere got the crap beaten out of her. And I'm talking about the suffragette movement. I'm talking about that. Go back and read what those women went through to get us the vote. Those brave, brave women who did not sit down and didn't stop. Which, by the way, they were white women, and they screwed the black women who were there to help them. It's disgusting what they did to the black women. That aside, it's predictable. Anyway, I'm going to wind this down, but to sum up, you don't get to clutch your pearls about this. This is what you wanted. This is what you voted for, and you don't get to pick and choose what you voted for. We warned you about all of this, and you wanted to own the libs. So here it is. Congratulations. I hope you enjoy it. For the rest of you who are here and have stuck around this long for my long rant, I thank you. And I hope all of you who were smart enough not to vote for this whole thing have a beautiful day. And the rest of you have the day you voted for.